Welcome to Interior Analysis. I'm Evan Westman,
I'm Jelani T. Kelly.
and today we're talking about Molly's Game, the 2017 Aaron Sorkin movie. So, this is my pick, but I think we should start with your first experience with this, because that's kind of why we're doing this now. So, yeah, go ahead and tell your experience with it, I guess.
Yeah, so I was pretty much forced to see the back half of this movie while I was getting my hair retwisted. I wasn't gonna, like, make them switch. I didn't know what it was at first. And then sooner rather than later, I started, like, actually watching it with the people in the room. And I was like, huh, I'm engaged enough to consider watching the whole of the movie, whatever this is. And then I realized it was Molly's Game, a movie I had heard of but knew nothing about until I saw it. If you were to give me the premise on paper, I probably wouldn't watch it, but I saw the movie first before anything, so that doesn't matter. And after having seen the whole movie now from the beginning, it was cool. It was
Okay.
cool. I want to say above average because the acting performances, mainly by Idris Elba and Kevin Costner, to me, and I only say them because I'm thinking of two scenes in particular. Obviously, Jessica Chastain did well as well, but to me, the character kind of came across as emotionless.
I think that's fair.
And I, no disrespect to Jessica Chastain, obviously, but the only other thing, I'm sure she's a great actress. The only other thing I've seen her in
Is Dark Phoenix.
I mean this in the with the utmost sincerity when I say unfortunately, was Dark Phoenix, where she was another emotionless
Yep.
character, an alien. So, yeah, not the greatest track record of watching her in movies, but yeah.
No, I concur on that, because like for my money, this is definitely my favorite Idris Elba performance. Like, I think this is the best I've ever seen him. I've seen Jessica Chastain be better in other things. I also think she like does well here, but and I think she is a good Sorkin actor. I think there's a type of person who is a good Sorkin actor, and she is one of the people who was made to say Sorkin dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen her be better than this movie. I was a little bit surprised that like neither of them got nominated though, because like to me I was like I wanted Idris Elba to be nominated for this.
Mm-hmm.
He would have. Well, I don't know if it's like a smaller field for supporting, but like yeah, for my money, I think he is like he like elevates that part, I think, more than Jessica Chastain does in this movie. But again, like I'm not like knocking her performance there.
The scene I'm thinking about is the monologue with the prosecutor. That scene, I was just like, oh, he's acting. Oh, he's going in here. I wonder how many takes, how many days he spent working through that script there, because he, and it's not even like a super dramatic scene where he's like being like emotional, like to the point where he has to cry. He's annoyed. Like there's a frustration and annoyance behind it, and it's so captivating from start to finish in that scene. It was great.
Yeah, I think that's like the peak of Idris Elba for me so far. I think he also in The Wire, or am I getting that No, he's in maybe he's in that too, but he's in, what is that show? Is it Luther?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm getting confused with. I just like, I was like, he does things where it's like he's in a suit and like does like crime investigations, and for some reason I thought The Wire with that, but maybe cameos or something. Um, but yeah,
He's also an American gangster. And
is
Denzel
that
Washington, spoilers, shoots him in the head.
okay? I think I knew that because I've seen his face on a thumbnail for like a compilation of
What are you gonna do?
gonna
Shoot me?
Shoot me? Get
Yeah.
shot. So
Yeah, I saw that
I didn't
video.
know it was that movie, but I've seen his face on the thumbnail for that video.
Yep. You're gonna shoot me. What are you gonna do? Shoot me? It's broad daylight. In front of all these people.
Yes, ba bang. There's also I've also seen, I don't like this one as much, where it's like, you missed. Did I?
But did I? Yeah, yeah. How was I recommended? You didn't send me those, but I saw
No, I
both
didn't
of
send you
those.
those. You know what I did mean to send you though? Before this, I had a friend show me. It's not really related to that, but it is related to this movie. I should send you this after. There's an excellent like 1 minute video of a guy doing like a parody of the Aaron Sorkin masterclass, where he's like going through like how Sorkin. It's not really how he writes dialogue, but it's like, all right, so you write this like whole big monologue. So this is a great line. The problem is it doesn't make any sense. So you need to have somebody set them up by saying, "Hey, do you want to sign this birthday card for?" It's fantastic. um, but yeah,
There's very much. It felt like there was a formula to every dialogue exchange in this movie, and that's kind of my topic. But yeah, yeah. No,
well, and this is only your second Sorkin, right? Because you haven't seen
yeah,
anything else with him aside from when I made you watch
Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, but this I'm getting the sense you like this a lot more than Steve Jobs.
Oh yeah, way more engaging, way more. Yep.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'll save that for your topic because I think there's like reasons why that probably is, for like how Sorkin-ish this movie is. Did you have more
Where does this
initials?
where does this no, but where does this rank on the Sorkin scale? 10 being the Sorkiniest, and 1 being not Sorkin.
I'm gonna say it's on the upper half. Like I haven't seen like everything that Sorkin's done, but like for my money, like the most Sorkin that I've seen is probably like most of the Newsroom. Like that's when I feel like he has nobody telling him no, and is just like unrestrained. Like I'm gonna write like insane monologues for like everyone's brilliant except for 2 one-off characters, and like um, I think that's probably a 10. Steve Jobs is probably a 9.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like he feels pretty unrestrained in Steve Jobs, I think, in terms of just like that whole movie could be a play and like everyone's a genius, including the 9-year-old. And like
I was so grateful she wasn't. Even though
yeah,
her dad was building her up to be a genius, I'm so glad she was just a kid.
in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think even like when like you kind of can fall back on like he's obviously like super like demanding and is like trying to basically build her up to be kind of a child prodigy. So like it would kind of scan a little more.
I just realized that applies to 2 characters. I meant Charlie's daughter.
Oh, you meant Charlie. Okay, I thought you meant child Molly.
No, she was to be that kind of 9-year-old child from Jobs, the brilliant. It is a trap. I don't have any heroes. Shut up.
It
Shut
is
up.
it is very much a Sorkin character thing though. Like to just like people accuse him of having like people who are like just they aren't people, they're just like a ball of ideology.
Okay, that's another thing. They don't read. They're not people. They don't read. They don't sound. Yeah, they're played by real people, but they don't feel like. We should get into the topic.
Yeah, we
Do you
should.
have more
Okay, I'll run
initials?
through my initials then.
Yeah.
I think we've done a couple. So I saw this in theaters. This was like I was anticipating this because like I think I saw The Social Network, I think a year before this came out, and like was a Sorkin fan through that. Um, I don't think I'd seen anything else from him except Moneyball, but I don't even know if I knew that was him at the time. Um, yeah, like this just checks a lot of my boxes to the point that like I don't even know if I think it's good. I just enjoy it so much. Like I kind of weirdly have a thing for poker movies. Um, Even though
What are the other
poker is like
boxes?
um, Sorkin dialogue, smart characters saying smart things, wearing suits. I kind of,
Okay.
that's sort of a weird subgenre that I like. And like the editing in this, like holy crap, is there editing in this movie?
There's a lot
Um,
of it. Yeah.
and I'll talk about that in one of my topics a bit. Um, yeah, I guess this isn't going to be a topic, but I was noticing this time like how much this doesn't necessarily want to be a Sorkin type of story. Like he loves courtroom dramas, and I don't think that's the obvious way into like a Hollywood scandal story like this. And for some reason that didn't really like crystallize to me until watching it this time. Like he kind of made this a Sorkin thing when it maybe, I'm not going to say shouldn't have, but it definitely wouldn't have been everyone's approach.
Mm.
But I'm not surprised it was his. So we were already talking about the dialogue, and I wanted to start with that anyway. But that was the topic you wanted to bring. So if you had any like, where else did you want to go with that?
All right. My topic is dialogue-driven storytelling. This movie has all the words. I think this movie has more words from the dictionary than not.
Like it has over
It,
50%.
it has over 50% of the dictionary in here somehow. Because there is a lot. I think this is the. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with more talking, more dialogue, more. Wow. And it doesn't stop, and that's another topic. But one thing I didn't have in my notes is they're not people. Nobody in this movie is a person. They are just, as you stated, ideologies, balls of ideology. It is the actor's job to bring personality to the dialogue, but the way they are written, as far as the dialogue goes, everybody is. I'm not even gonna call them a character because I would feel like that's inaccurate. Everybody is the same voice machine. They all talk the exact same way, except the kid. Except I forget her name. And I only say that because I don't remember. I don't even remember any memorable lines she has. And she's not in it a ton. But yeah, I and I don't think I don't see it as a good thing. But in telling a movie like this, or making a movie like this, like it's kind of like a double-edged sword because it's not a great thing because nobody really feels like a character, but in those moments where they do feel like characters, my two favorite scenes being those moments with Idris Elba's monologue where you see some semblance of annoyance and frustration with the prosecutor and Molly's situation and what he's defending. He's like, I shouldn't even be here. None of us should be here. And the other scene, the other powerful scene that it tries to make me tear up, it almost gets me. It almost gets me, is the ice skating scene, or right after the ice skating scene with Kevin Costner. And he keeps, I don't know what it is about characters repeating the same line over and over as they get more and more emotional, but that tears at the heartstrings because there's such a good element of realism to it. My other favorite, just in movies in general, is the "It's Not Your Fault" scene from Good Will Hunting. Oh my
That's
god.
freaking
Oh
classic.
my god.
It's not your
Um.
fault. I know. It's so good.
Oh man. So when he, so when Kevin Costner goes, no, he's got to suffer. No, he's got to suffer. Oh man. Oh, that hits. Um. And like I said, it's in those moments where I'm just like, these are. I gotta remember these are people, or they're based on people, because most of the movie is just everybody's a genius, and everybody's trying to outwit and out something the other person. We're all brilliant. How am I gonna roast you in my next scene? And how am I gonna have a callback from earlier in the conversation? That's another thing. I was saying there's a formula to it. There's always a callback to, in almost every scene of dialogue, there's a callback to something said earlier in at the very beginning of the conversation. Um, One scene example in particular is the uh, the powerful men thing, and in the same scene with Molly's dad and her, um, she brings up powerful men. He was like, that was just a red herring. Or the prosecution 2-on-2 scene where she says no, um, and they were like, no what? And she says, no, I've never exchanged money for sex. I wanted to make sure I get that in there. Like,
Right, which was something they brought up like 2 minutes ago.
yeah,
Sorkin loves doing that.
yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, there's definitely a formula to the dialogue. Um, or the when the lawyer and Charlie and Molly first met, there's the thing where he says, you never answered my question. He first starts the scene off with, how much sleep have you gotten? And they fully walk to his office, have half a conversation, and then he goes, you never answered my question. How much sleep did you get? I was just like, that was a full 5 minutes ago. Exaggerating, but all right. Do you have anything to add in this?
Yeah, I mean, so I think this is like I was saying before, like I think it's one of the more restrained versions of like Sorkin dialogue, and I feel like I say this like once every 5 episodes, but I'm really interested to see what you think of The Social Network whenever I finally decide to have us do that, because that to me is like there's still a couple of lines that I'm like, all right, like chill out, bud. But I think that is Sorkin at his best. Like I think because he's working with David Fincher, and I think Fincher helps bring out the best in Sorkin there. Um, and actually, I heard like because Sorkin directed this, and this was his first time directing. At least, I think it's his first time at least directing a movie. I want to say he might have directed a few episodes of The Newsroom, and he has a couple other shows. Maybe he did for that, but I know he consulted Fincher a bit for this, because they have some kind of rapport still, I assume. But I think he's showing some restraint here in his style, and like I think he's like you were saying, like the kid maybe they don't feel like a kid, and again they're in all of like 3 minutes of this movie maybe, but they are not like jarringly Sorkin-esque. Like they just kind of feel like a regular person, like a regular 16-year-old you could meet. um but so I think he like at least is pulling back a bit there. But yeah, like the circularity thing, like he has said he loves the like musicality of dialogue, and I think that's what I like about it. Like that's what I enjoy about this movie. Like I feel like it could be about anything, but if I have like Sorkin dialogue playing through the whole thing, I'm pretty much having a good time. And like that's most of the enjoyment I get from it. Um so like you're your bumps are definitely legitimate on it. I do think like again, like why I think this works better for you maybe than Steve Jobs did is that he is kind of pumping his brakes a little bit with this and understanding like, all right, maybe I shouldn't be like 100% like what I want to do with this and like just make it a little bit more palatable. Um, so I love the newsroom. I really don't recommend it for you because like that that is like Sorkin to a degree that I really can't defend in some cases. Like there's some good stuff in that show that I really love. There are some scenes where I like even as a fan I'm just like did did you did you take a second pass at this? Like there's literally a scene like you're never going to watch it so I'll just like the point where it feels like a parody of itself is like there's like I don't know 6 to 10 characters in a room like discussing some like they're being sued or something and they get into this tangent about how many reindeer there are on Santa's team and like listing all of them off. I'm like did who you really wanted to keep the like if you just probably just YouTube like the newsroom Santa's reindeer and it's like as circular as that thing like it's like an argument playing out next to it and I get why he wants it like it's supposed to be a joke it just does not land and he keeps at it for like 3 minutes like he can get a little too much which is why I think like it's good that he got that out of his system. And I've heard The West Wing could be like that too, but I haven't seen that. I've seen like 2 episodes, I think. Um, so, like, I agree with your assessment that it is carried by the actors. Like, there is so much that is said in this movie that I don't actually really understand, but the way that they play it kind of like tells us what we need to know. And that Idris Elba scene that you were talking about, I think is one of the best examples. Like he's throwing out a ton of legal terminology in that, but we still, at some level, like I get what he's saying. I don't know it, and I couldn't maybe spit it back.
Who the hell
But
is Rico?
yeah, yeah, I don't know what a RICO indictment is, but I know she doesn't like. I guess it doesn't apply to her because he's saying it very, very convincingly. Um, so, but there's a few other things that like I sometimes will have that sense with. Like I think I talked about that when we did Mission Impossible last year. Like there are parts of that movie where I'm like kind of lost, but then just the way Tom Cruise is acting, somehow I get it. There was a you nobody listening will have seen this, but there was a play that I had a few friends both write, direct, and act in that I saw a while back. And I remember watching it and like I could follow it because of how they were playing it, but I remember thinking afterward like I think if I read this, like read the words they were saying, I wouldn't really know what was happening. But I could follow it because of the way they were playing it. And it was like I don't remember exactly when it was set, but it was like I'm gonna say at least a century ago, and it was kind of like high vocabulary, like flowery kind of language, like kind of old timey speak. But like they were playing it in a way where I was like, I know exactly what's happening, even if I don't really understand all of the words that were just used.
It's kind of like watching Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon.
I feel like I can follow that a little better, but yeah, I think it's there to an extent.
Paying attention to the dialogue, I've been just because I'm trying to write my own sort of medieval thing, and paying attention to how the way that people speak in that, I'm just like, they're not speaking the way you and I speak. I mean, of course, they're not using like slang, but they're also just like that. Nobody's spoken this way in centuries, so.
Yeah, I feel like that's less distancing for me. Like, there's terminology that don't always get, but I feel like it at least exists in the world of that show. Maybe I haven't seen much House of the Dragon, so maybe it's there more than in the original Game of Thrones series.
All that being said, because I know this is based on a book and a real story, I can honestly forgive it the way the story is told. I don't know. We spoke earlier. I don't know how somebody else might have approached telling the story of this book. I think the way this was told was perfectly fine. Even though there's a lot of dialogue, the dialogue keeps it flowing. But at times it can be a lot. And I think we were both also taught, like, in school that dialogue should matter. Like, when you approach writing dialogue, everything said should matter in some capacity. It doesn't have to, like, progress the plot, or it should but it should have a goal when somebody says something. Like, it should tell something about their character, somebody else's character, expand the world, something. But even in the first, like, opening sequence of this movie, I was just thinking, like, I don't think Sorkin took that approach. There's a lot of stuff I don't think needs to be here, but I didn't make the movie. So.
Well, the line that immediately stood out to me when I first saw that scene was, like, when at the end of it she says, like, none of this has anything to do with poker. I just wanted to, like, refute whoever said that, like, coming in fourth at the Olympics, what, like, they just had a bone to pick with that. And I was like, no, okay, the movie is literally saying this scene doesn't matter, but it's telling us everything we need to know about this character. Like, the literal, like, situation and all of the anecdotes of, like, some Brazilian guy said that it was the worst thing was losing to Argentina no matter when. Like, that information means nothing for the rest of this movie, but it's all kind of building the scene up to this point that is telling us, like, everything about this character. So it's like it's almost this weird form of subtext, I feel like, that he's playing with, where it's like Molly will in, like, 30 seconds talk about just all of these kind of meaningless details about, like, the cheese platter that she got and the playlist that she set up for these players. And, like, do we really need to know any of those, like, little details? No, they mean nothing. But collectively, they're kind of telling us, like, okay, she is super detail-oriented.
The rum and raspberries.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Like, that's another very Sorkin thing, is, like, characters will just throw out little factoids randomly.
Yeah, I would just Google random facts while I was watching the poker games, and I'm 12 credits away from a degree in astronomy. Never comes up again. All right.
That's another moment that's, like, almost Sorkin being a parody of himself, is just smart person rattling off their resume and smart things that they know. He loves doing that.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't hate the movie for it. I can forgive it the way the story is told. I normally don't. I don't think I usually gravitate towards, like, based on a true story type of movie, types of movies, based on what we've done, even just on this podcast. What else have we done based on a true story?
Well, the reason I think I was planning to do this for a minute, and then you banned me from doing true story movies after Bohemian Rhapsody versus Rocket Man, which I know neither of those worked for you. Dunkirk didn't work for you. Spotlight didn't work for you. Troy, if we want to count that, didn't really work for you. Steve Jobs. So now we're, how many is that? Because, I mean, depends on if you count episodes or movies, but we're like 1 for 7, I think, on that. And do we want to count The Harder They Fall? I feel like that's a gray area.
Nah. I think the characters in that movie were based on real people, but I don't think I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
count
guess
that.
that one's. I think we cannot count that one. But like, what I love about this and kind of Steve Jobs and The Social Network also is I feel like they don't hit like a true story movie. Like I don't even think about this as um like a real thing that happened even though
Right.
it is. And it's kind of reminding you that constantly with like there are like apparently all the characters in this movie are like names that we would totally recognize if they were revealed and like they've changed all of them and whatever. um
Michael Cera is one of them. You know, it's crazy.
yep. And do you know who he's supposed to be? Because there are
No.
theories. There's a very I don't remember when I or where I first heard this, but there's a very
Shia?
prevalent theory. No, but it is someone you know.
Does he look like him?
For my money, no.
He's just some random. He's a black celebrity. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know if they could get away with that, but
It's an actor. He's an actor.
it is an actor. And it's
Sky.
not Jesse Eisenberg.
That was my next guess.
Because they're always like it is not Jesse Eisenberg.
Give me a movie.
No.
No. I don't have any. I don't know.
I feel like I can't tell you who it is because like you just once
We
you know
have to
you're gonna
know.
know why I can't tell you.
What? Text it to me then. Wait,
No,
why can't you
no,
just say it on the
I
phone?
want to do this on it because I've been like as soon as I knew we were gonna do this movie, I was like I wonder if he's gonna find out beforehand.
So what? I gotta know now. So are you gonna tell me?
I'll
or do
tell
I
you
have
by
to-
the end, but I don't have to tell you now.
What are you doing? Why don't you just tell me now?
We're gonna move on, and we will come back to that in another topic.
I'm gonna Google it.
Okay, I'm honestly surprised. Um, but yeah, like it. I feel like this doesn't hit like a true story movie because it's just like so. I
There's
don't know.
no way.
Like these feel. It doesn't feel bound by facts in that way.
There's
And it probably
no
helps
way.
that like a lot is like I get the sense that like some of these characters are not supposed to be one person. They're supposed to be like kind of conglomerate characters where it's like a few people might have been like this. um I just get that sense. I don't know that to be true.
No.
um,
Pause. Tobey Maguire.
Yep. Yep, it's our boy. That's what a lot of people think.
No way.
Did you just
Wait,
look that up or did you figure it out?
No, I looked it up. I see a picture with him, Leo, Ben Affleck. Were they all Tobey Maguire's player
I
X?
think so. I don't know if anyone's supposed to be Ben Affleck. I've read somewhere that like there's not a character in this that people think is Leo, but there's like a shot of like some dude in like one of the montages where like I think it's like a guy with like headphones in his ear who people are like, "Oh, that's Leo." But like people are very very convinced that player X is Tobey Maguire.
I'm sure there's evidence that backs that theory. He's not somebody I would picture being as shady and slimy as Player X is in this movie.
I mean, I don't know anything about him as a real person to
Me
speak
neither.
of.
I just know
so-
I know he hates the media. That's about it. He hates people like taking. He hates like paparazzi.
Hmm.
That's all I know about him.
I just know the like famous like rant or not rant, but like him yelling at them from his car that is used in like half of the Bully Maguire memes.
Mm.
But yeah, it's I don't know if there's anyone else that like people have theories on, but that's one that I've seen a lot is that and
Sure,
Michael Cera
yes.
plays him as like such a like
He's so slimy.
it is. I like it from Michael Cera though. Like it's a good performance from him, especially because like
Yeah.
he never plays cocky in the way that he does in this movie. Like he's always kind of like, oh man, like that's his like vibe. It like even when he's like an asshole, like in Scott Pilgrim, he's an asshole by accident, kind of in that movie. And this is like, nope, he's like gonna ruin your life.
Yeah. I'm having trouble. I'm sorry. Once I looked
I
it
knew
up,
it.
I was not. I was not like. I'm gonna be honest. I was not paying attention to what you were saying. Once
That's
I.
why I was like, I can't tell him this before he watches the movie.
No, it'll be in the back of my head now, but I can still pay attention.
Because now you got to imagine him doing everything that Michael Cera does in this movie. You can't help it.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend to know all the terms and stuff in this movie. Like I've never played poker either, so I don't. They were trying to explain it to me, and I was just like, all right. Does he lose? Okay, he loses. That's the information I need to take from this. Great. What were you saying though before I paused? Sorry.
I don't really remember, but I think we got through every point I was gonna make about like kind of like the biopicness of it. But off of what you were saying, like, do you feel like you can follow the poker terminology? Because like I know poker terminology. I'm not good at it, but I think it moves fast enough that like I have to remember like, okay, wait, what is that? Wait, does a full house beat? And it's just moving past that so quickly that like I don't. By the time I like am trying to think about it, it's basically answered the question.
I'm not even gonna pretend to know. Nope. And I wasn't going back because I was watching this at like 1 a.m. So, nope.
But do you feel like you could follow it despite that?
Nope. All I needed to know. That's why I said all. I was just looking for the information I needed to take away from what was being explained for a good 3 minutes. Okay, he lost the game. Cool. That's all I needed to know. Thanks.
Okay, yes. Well, that's kind of what I was saying is like you still get that.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. So I feel like that's kind of where this movie's like so that I was kind of setting up to transition into one of my topics, which is the power of momentum. And I think that's like one of the strongest points of this is like they'll throw around terminology, but it kind of barrels past it so quickly that it's telling you what you need to know, but you like it just doesn't matter if you understood a single word that was just said. You know Harlan Eustace just lost a ton of money or whatever.
That was his name. Right. Holland.
Oh god. Holland's cleaning house.
I need more of those.
What, like Benoit Blanc?
Yeah. I need
Things.
more of those.
Couldn't have Benoit Blanc in this movie. He talks too slow.
No, absolutely not.
I would like
He
to
would
see
wait.
Daniel
He
Craig
would.
do
He
a
would
Sorkin
wait for
movie.
them. What?
I would like to see Daniel Craig do a Sorkin movie, but not as Benoit Blanc.
I want to see Benoit Blanc in a Sorkin movie, because he would wait for them to finish their monologue, where they're like looking so brilliant and smart, and then he'll just like he'll tear them down, piece by piece. I think all Sorkin characters need to be taken down a peg.
Pretty much. Well, all of the like Sorkin characters. Actually, that was one thing I meant to say in the last topic is like I feel like Sorkin is almost at his worst when he's trying to not be himself. Like when he has like a dumb character or a scene of action like where it's not a dialogue scene. I don't think he really knows how to do it. And it shows like the two biggest examples from this movie I think are the ice skating scene feels weird to me. Not the one you were talking about before, like after, but when she's actually skating, like it just kind of feels out of place to me. And
On
then
the slope?
No, not the skiing at the beginning. The one where she's like at the ice rink in Central Park.
Oh, so the scene prior to her seeing her dad,
Yeah,
where she's
that
like,
one.
"Catch me."
I don't like it.
Me neither.
Like I get what it's going for, but it doesn't belong in a Sorkin movie. Like I I feel I feel like there's somewhere it does belong, but it's not here. Um, and then the other, I feel like this doesn't stand out as bad, but like Chris O'Dowd's character, the Irish guy that comes up in like the later hour of the movie, um, he's like
Oh,
he's
the
like
one
a
that starts the conversations with the mystery book, mystery novel. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, like I feel like as like dumb Sorkin characters go, he's not nearly as bad as some other ones, but it is a little bit like jarring to have a character like that show up in this kind of movie. I feel like he almost does it to like either prove that he can or like to challenge himself, but I'd kind of rather he just not. Um, like another one of the few tiny moments that I feel like doesn't work great in the Social Network is when we meet Justin Timberlake's character. He tells Dakota Johnson like, "I'm an entrepreneur," and she goes, "So what was your latest preneur?" And I'm just like, can't do that, man. I know you think this is clever, but like that's how he writes dumb people, and I just wish he wouldn't try.
What does that
Like,
even mean?
well, you get what it's. I feel like it works slightly better in context, but you say like nobody talks like Sorkin characters. I feel like that's triply true of the dumb characters. Like he doesn't. He can only really write like super brilliant people, and when he tries to write anyone of like average intelligence, he doesn't know how because they just don't work in his world.
That sounds like an MCU line, bro. If I'm being honest.
What
What was your latest preneur? That
it kind of
sounds
does
like
now that you're saying
sounds like
that.
a quip.
That does sound like an MC. Yeah, that feels like something Tony Stark would say.
I was just thinking, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't work though because it doesn't. Um, Now that's all I can think about is Robert Downey Jr. saying that line. Um, so anyway, to go back to the momentum topic, um, I talked about the editing before, and I think that helps a lot with this. It's just flat. It's doing the same thing as the dialogue in the sense of just like throwing a lot at us to the point that you don't even know what you just saw or heard, but you know what it meant. Um, and I think it serves this movie in particular very well. I don't think this would work in a lot of places, but when you have to get through this much, it works really well. Um, and coupled with that, I like the inclusion of the voiceover here. Um, and I wanted to ask you about that. How do you feel about the narration?
It's pretty essential to it. I don't think this movie could be itself without it. Like, we kind of need to know what's going on through her voice, especially with how much I think it covers in the span of time we have. Uh, I think it's essential. I don't have any qualms with it. Quarrel?
Yeah,
Qualms.
qualms, quarrel, both and. I don't either. Um, and I think it's exactly for why you said like, if we don't have it, how are you getting through all of this information that we need? Like, people say show don't tell, but like, how long would it take? Like, if you just flash those like if you rely solely on the visuals of the montage, that doesn't give us what we need. And if you stretch
That's
it out longer and like show us everything that she's telling us, we have a mini series on our hands.
this that's another. This should be called Molly's montage. There are a lot of montages in this movie. This movie
It's
is
like
mainly
60% montage.
montage. Yeah. That was actually in my dialogue-driven storytelling. I didn't know really where to put it, but the movie, as you said, this movie does a lot of, I want to say showing and telling, but we were taught to do showing, not telling. Sometimes it's straight up just tell instead of show. But examples of showing and telling, like when she's describing what an event is, and then she's robbed. A divorced dude, Holland, losing to Bad Brad, and then she's like explaining the hand, but there's also the visual of the hand, and her explaining that he rolled into a king's river, the triple king thing, and then her setup of the New York game with one of the models, or all of the models, where she was saying I had the best, and then there was this person named B, and B and me were best friends, not like Beatrice. There's a lot of doing both, and I think the movie works well with when it's showing and telling, because it's explaining what's happening on screen, because there's a lot that happens on screen in this movie, but without the telling, as you were saying, it would not work in the slightest. I would be so confused.
Yeah, I feel like it's not something that I feel like works in that many situations.
Mm-mm.
But I think it was a smart instinct here, because like this is also not a short movie. Like it's not super long. I think it's like
2.5
220.
hours. Yeah.
I think it's probably like 215, 220, which isn't like long, but it's definitely not short. So to like you got to be economical, and like Sorkin, despite some of his faults, can be really economical when he wants to. He can move fast, and some of that again is credit to the actors talking at 1,000 miles an hour. I think it does know to like slow down at times, but like I one thing that I've heard, and I think in every other situation I can think of, I agree with the rule that like voiceover should not tell you something that is also being shown already. This movie breaks that rule the entire time, and I think it should, because like we were both saying, like if you just have the voiceover, it's moving too fast for us to get it. If you just have the visuals, that doesn't really tell us enough. But if you have them both, we can pretty much get it when it's moving that fast. And like, I think I don't want to say that like the screenwriting one type of advice that we both kind of pointed to is wrong. But like, if you're given the like show don't tell assignment for something like this, like there are scenes you could do, they just take 3 times as long, or 5 more likely. Like if I'm imagining just like the first like poker game she sets up for her first boss, Dean Keith. Like you could have, I feel like most movies would make that like a 7 to 10 minute sequence. This movie probably gets through in 2, and like a 7 to 10 minute sequence of that is fine. Like I think it could work, but then that's if you do 7 to 10 minutes for every 2 minute scene of this, like you're making the movie too long to be a movie. So I like it here, but I do generally agree with the rule that like you shouldn't use voiceover to tell us something that the visuals are already communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a rare it's a rare place where I feel like it's good to break that rule.
Does it feel like a two? I'm gonna just keep saying 2.5 hour, because it's less words, and this movie has plenty of words for the both of us. Does it feel like that long to you?
It feels like a little over two, I'd say. Like it doesn't feel short. I think like I watched this in one night. Um, like it doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome in that sense. Like I don't feel like it's too long. Um, I do. I think the pacing like is pretty good throughout it in terms of balancing because like the scenes with Idris Elba, like the courtroom stuff in like that timeline, if we want to call it that, those are pretty traditional and slow. Like there's no montages in that part of the movie, but then everything that's like explaining the past up to that point is pretty much all montage. So I think like there are some points where I'm like, why are you cutting out all the energy here? Like it sets up this big tease, like it's the end of a chapter in a book, which probably is, I think there's a pretty clear reason why that might be. But sometimes I'm like, oh, why are you cutting out the energy from it? But at the same time, like if you just plowed through that, it might be exhausting for us. Mm-hmm. So it's probably to give it that ebb and flow. And again, that's a very Sorkin thing. He loves that kind of non-linear, like that's basically the entire Social Network is like two courtroom scenes that are telling us everything that happened in order in flashbacks.
To me, it doesn't feel like that long. It's definitely I'm definitely not going to. I don't think I'd ever rewatch this on my own, but yeah, it doesn't feel as long as it is to me. Just as we said already, because of the pacing, fast-paced dialogue, it just feels like it just keeps going and going. Rare scenes without any dialogue where you're just sitting there taking in what you're watching.
Yeah, I think the pacing is there's a good sense of like not letting us get overwhelmed because even in the past there's montages, but then there's also like scenes that breathe a little bit more every couple minutes to like even keep that part of the movie like there's like it speeds up and slows down enough that like it doesn't just feel like a trailer the entire time.
Right.
Or like a music video or whatever.
Or
so
a poker game.
Or what?
Or a poker game.
Well,
are those long typically? I don't know.
I think they're pretty long usually. I've never like played one that lasted more than probably an hour and a half, and I don't do it a lot, and never for any stakes. But I didn't plan this because of it, but I'm actually starting to write a movie with poker at the center of it because I like it as a narrative device. I just think it's there's a lot that it affords you because like it gives you everything you need for a scene just like at face value. It gives you resources for each character, stakes, and like tactics and new information. Like the game is already structured like a good scene pretty much. So I really like stuff that uses it. Like one episode I want to do someday whenever they come up on streaming services, Rounders versus 21, because I feel like those are both movies that I love the like premise they take with poker, and then Rounders I think is decent, but 21 definitely has some missed opportunities and
Isn't
potential.
21 a different game? There's no blackjack.
Yeah, but like it's a different form of poker.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought. So, what version of poker were they? I thought poker was a different game from blackjack.
So there's like different versions of it. I know there's so the one that is in this, and I feel like is most used
Texas?
in
Is it
movie. Yeah,
Texas Hold'em?
Texas Hold'em. Um,
Oh.
and then 21 is like more of a casino game, where I've never fully understood how it works, but it's like
You
basically
can't. You. You. I think you bust if you hit 21? Or is it. I think it's,
I
you
think you
bust
can
if
hit
you
it.
go
You don't
over.
want to go over. Like
Right.
hitting 21 is perfect, but I've
Ace
never
can be.
quite understood how betting works in it.
Ace can count as 1 or 11.
I mm, Oh yeah, maybe. I don't. I know it counts as one. I don't know if it counts as 11, but
One of the cards
could
in
be
the
wrong.
deck counts as 1 or 11. I
Then
know
it's
that.
probably an ace. I didn't know though that it could be 11. Um, but like 21 is about like people who count cards. It's another like loosely based true story, and they like go to casinos and like, you know, basically game the system. But I've never quite understood how that works. Um, Again, I don't. I like the premise of that movie a lot, but I don't think it really works great. Um, I like basically I almost wanted to approach the thing I'm writing almost as a remake of 21, but not like literally. Um, I like it as a story element. I think it's a lot of fun. Also, why I like Casino Royale, um, but that also moves quite a bit slower and has extremely implausible hands, from what I've heard.
Aren't
Did you
all
want to
hands
talk more about
plausible?
the what is it?
Aren't all hands plausible?
Well, yeah, but like apparently the like final hand in the game in that movie I've heard is like just insanely improbable. Like it could happen, but the odds of like everyone at the table having like that high powered of a hand is like just incredibly low.
Oh, so it's not just one character's hand, it's everybody's hand at the same
No,
time.
yeah, I just showed that to my younger sister like a month ago, and I think it's like everyone in that final scene has like some form of like full house or straight or something, and it's like I don't know. I haven't done the math on it. I just remember a friend telling me like
Ah,
that scene is like could basically never happen. Um,
yeah, okay. That makes sense.
yeah, yeah, because what you're saying like a winning hand like that's that good, yes, that can happen. Although I've heard royal flushes are actually like even casinos like get one or two of those like a year. It's like actually quite rare. I have one more topic here, which is memorable one-off characters. So I was kind of noticing this time that a lot of the like past storyline of this movie kind of gets divided up by characters that only stick around for like two scenes and then leave. Um, so I was thinking about like why are they or how are they memorable and distinct? Because there was one character in this that I had forgotten about. I think this was my third time watching this movie. I didn't remember Joe Keery's character, but he's also
Who?
very Stranger Things bro. He's like a trust
Oh,
fund kid.
the thief.
Yeah, I didn't remember him being in it, but I think he's in it even less than the others. But I remembered everyone else, and I think there's like a few things that help with that. Casting is for better or worse one, because I feel like from a writing perspective that's not helpful, but it is nice to just have okay, Succession guy, um, old
Michael
man,
Sarah.
Michael Sarah, and Chris O'Dowd. Like that definitely helps. But even within that, like they have pretty distinct looks to them, um, and like wardrobe kind of goes into that. Like they're different ages, they look different social statuses, um, and then they just kind of have like one distinct characteristic to set them apart. Um, I think that helps, and they all have like a pretty quick plot function. Um, so I don't know if that was pretty much everything that like I wanted to go into with it. It might be a very small topic, but
Oh, yeah, I just wrote down names for my notes. I didn't know what you wanted to say about it.
well, I guess to kind of like go back to a thing you were saying earlier, like you were saying everyone sounds the same. Do you feel like that holds less true with these characters? Because I kind of feel like they do feel different, but I don't know if that's more credit to the actors or the like writing of these characters.
I think it's credit to the actors. Um, Player X, 100% could still just be a Sorkin character.
But could he be any other character? Because like he could. I feel like he with the like poker players like and Dean Keith like the first boss like I don't feel like he feels he feels a little bit like a Sorkin character.
Yeah, he
Like,
does.
but I don't know. I think he's distinct enough. Like he's an asshole in a different way than Player X for sure. Like I think there is a distinction there where like on the page you could like I think I would imagine somebody different playing both of them.
Yeah, they. I think these one-off characters each have one or two strong traits that separate them. They're still written like Sorkin characters, still, in my opinion. But yeah, Dean Keith is a racist. Player X was I want to call him a snake, like warm and welcoming, but actually just not a good person. Uh, Donnie, the drunk dude. I think his name was Donnie. I don't remember.
Yeah, I always forget
Chris O'Dowd's.
him. I
Chris
just think of
O'Dowd's
it as Chris O'Dowd.
Um, and he had that distinct thing of the opening conversation thing. Like that's something memorable about him. Gut shot on the river. Shelley the billionaire. I mean, he didn't even have much to say, but I remembered him because he was like, "Hey, that's one letter off from Shelley, my name."
Okay, I didn't remember him either. I almost didn't even count him as a minor character, but he was one I forgot also. Like,
But he was
between
the one that
viewings.
was that I think was connected to the wrong people. Because it said Shelley, I think, or was it Shelby? One of the shells was connected to the wrong people, I think. Whatever. Bad Brad. I don't even remember him saying anything. Oh no, he said I don't have many friends. I just like being here with the guys, and he kept losing.
Well,
Harlan.
yeah, actually, now that you mention it, though, like he really doesn't. Like he's somebody we are very much told about rather than like, because most of the other people um, like Chris O'Dowd has a couple scenes. Player X, we have a few scenes. Dean Keith, like we see him like how he treats Molly. Bad Brad, we're pretty much just told, here's this guy. We don't really get a scene.
Shelley only has his intro scene where he comes in and then he talks about having the Monet painting. Bad Brad, and then Harlan, he has this scene where he blows up, and then the outside scene where, he was talking about his wife, and then the outside scene where he says, "I don't have it." And then that leads into her taking the rake. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say they feel like people, but they definitely help diversify the cast from just brilliant.
Yeah, because I think I mean, especially like Bad Brad, I think the reason he works a little better is that part of me feels like he maybe should have like more of a scene, but also maybe he does feel a little more lived in because Sorkin's not putting Sorkin monologues for him to say. Like the fact that he doesn't say much, and credit to the actor too. I actually I was like, I know this guy from something, and actually you already brought it up. He's also in Dark Phoenix apparently as the president in that movie. And then I know him as like the least focused on journalist in Spotlight. He's like the least highlighted version of that team. But he has a mustache and looks unrecognizable. So like I think credit to that actor for like he just yeah he's playing this guy like a dude who would be bad at poker, but also maybe run a Ponzi scheme. So like somehow his performance is good enough. When that information came up, I was like, and maybe it's just kind of the story world that it's in more than like his performance. But I was like, yeah, that scans. Like, it's not that surprising. So, you know, I don't know exactly where credit is deserved for that, but
It also helps they all kind of had nicknames, except Dean Keith. Like, I can say their first name, or like you know who I'm talking about when I mentioned Donnie the drunk dude. Like, you know who that is, even though that's not his name in the movie. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have much else for this.
yeah, I think it's just like a good testament to like if you're gonna do a one-off character, like make him big and
Yeah.
memorable.
That was actually a tip I got in acting. Like, when you get an audition for like one role, make a strong choice rather than like no choice at all. You want to be memorable in the audition, just as memorable as you want to be for the one scene you have. So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense for casting too, because like, you know, you have your castings for like background doctor or whatever, where it's just kind of like you need someone who looks like they belong in a lab coat, basically. But then you have the like person where you need to know like what their archetype is off the jump, and some of that is just look. Like, I think is it Bill Camp that's the actor for Harlan Eustace? Like, I've seen him in a few things, and I feel like, you know, he has a look. Like, he looks like the guy who lives down the street from your parents. So like he always plays that, but he also just has a vibe of that. Um, so, and like that he has an actor's brain to the role. But yeah, I think it is partly a performance thing. Like, a lot of the work that I think the writing isn't doing, the actors are here. Which I don't know if we want to, seeing as he wrote and directed, I don't know if that's a knock to Sorkin or a, like, compliment to him.
Yeah, I don't want to, because I might be working with some of these people. I don't want to. I'm not knocking anybody involved in the making of this movie or any of the actors. I'm just saying certain things personally didn't resonate with me, and I think the actors did a bang up job with what they were given.
Well, but I think it is worth like examining just like the way Sorkin approaches character, like where it works and where it doesn't. Because I think, especially in this movie in particular, like there are places where it does work. Like he is doing part of it right, but also, as you're saying, they don't feel like real people when they're like full on Sorkin characters. They're like vehicles for an ideology.
Also, side note, when he did the 3P thing, remember he was writing on the whiteboard and showing her how she's triangularly connected through the mob, like when they first met, and he wrote the 3Ps on the whiteboard and circled it. It just
Yeah, I remember. Sorry.
okay.
I thought I said yes enough times.
They kept cutting back and forth between her and him, or making cuts with him, and the P's kept changing, and that was very distracting. I did not pay attention that whole scene because I was just like, those P's are different, that circle's different, those P's are different again.
All right, let me just go edit my Letterboxd rating. 0 out of 10.
Yeah,
cannot enjoy.
It's too distracting. I can't appreciate the movie. Because the rest of the time I was thinking about that and Player X being Tobey Maguire, and what else is there to even pay attention to at that point?
Well, I,
Possibly being Tobey.
yeah, people seem pretty convinced. I don't know how much evidence there really is, but like, I that is like I've heard that from so many sources that it's like
I think it's funny because that's not what I'd expect from him at all. Again, I don't know what to expect from him other than. Nope,
I feel
I
like
don't
Bully
expect it.
Maguire memes have just rotted my perception of Tobey Maguire to the point that like I have zero problem seeing it.
Bully Maguire being Player X. That is something I want to see an edit of.
I don't think it's been done, strangely. I should look it up, but like I think it's just not well known enough of a movie to do it. Like I don't think the Bully Maguire fan base knows about this.
You think it's too smart for them?
No, I think it's not like well known enough of a movie.
Mm.
Bully Maguire fans
Really?
our humor is you need a certain level of IQ to understand the meme.
Where did this insult of room temperature IQ come from? I've only seen this.
I've
Insult
never
just
heard
come
that.
Yesterday. I've been seeing that everywhere now. This person has room temperature IQ.
Well, Bully Maguire fans are is hot or cold better in that?
I don't know.
I was about to say we have like boiling IQs, but maybe that's bad.
I don't know. I thought this movie was more well known, but maybe I only thought that because wasn't this one of the posters Jocelyn had hanging? This
Not
and-
that I recall.
I'm pretty
feel
sure
like I
this
would've
and
remembered.
Moneyball were posters in the editing room.
Oh, maybe.
Because I only know this because of the one I was going to have for my background, the sunglasses one. I'm pretty sure that poster is in the editing room or was.
I don't ever remember that being there, and it probably would have been when I was there because this came out my freshman year of college. So, it,
God, you were a freshman in 20. Yeah, you were. Oh my gosh.
such a youth.
Well,
Yeah. Well, this is not really on the topic I was gonna go into, but like, well, because we're done with our topics now. But like, the performance of like Sorkin dialogue was just like because we were talking about the performances of the minor characters, but the bigger actors in this with the larger roles, like, I I feel like there is kind like the best virtue that they're bringing to it is kind of just like I know they understand what they're saying, and I feel like that is like the essential skill of acting in a Sorkin project. I don't know if there's anything to like expand on with that, but that was just like a thing that I feel like I noticed this time.
yeah. Yeah. I feel like they I'm with you. They know what they're saying. They possess knowledge of whatever they're told to say. Even as people, like they must have done some sort of background research or something. There's a confidence to the way they deliver all of their lines. Like I believe Kevin Costner was a therapist at some point in his. No, I'm kidding. But I'm with you.
Yeah, but like I feel like I feel like what I'm about to say is gonna sound really stupid, but like they have to know what each word means, even if they like don't. Like they have to know how to say it, which I feel is I don't know I don't know if that makes sense, but like because you should know that I guess if you're saying anything, but like I feel like it holds especially true here.
Yes. And
And yeah, I don't know, I'd be curious to see like a lesser actor play a Sorkin character just to see how it would, because he does get good actors for his movies and his shows. So like, And I can kind of see why. Like, I think it would be fun to play a Sorkin character. I don't know if I could do, like, one of his most brilliant. I don't know if I'm that good, but I think a lower tier Sorkin character might be fun to play.
It's a lot of memorization.
Well, I've
A lot
basically
of
memorized
memorization,
the end of Steve
but
Jobs.
but I don't feel like you'd have to have a ton of dramatic chops. Like I
No,
don't
it tends to not call for that.
like you need to cry on cue. I don't. You don't need to do that.
I'm trying to remember if anyone cries ever. Well,
Yeah,
there might be a couple
Molly
scenes.
does.
Oh yeah. Well, not like when she's talking though, or
No, she
maybe.
had one scene where I was surprised she was crying, and I forget which one that was. Or am I thinking of something else? No.
I guess there are a couple of like emotional acting scenes in this. He
The
tends to
close
not have them.
the closest was the post ice skating scene, but that was shot in the dark, so
And that one definitely slows down. Like that is a less Sorkin-esque scene compared to some.
I mean, is it? I mean, less sort. Yeah, but there's
Less. I'm not
still.
saying it's not, but it's less
Yeah,
than others.
because I was like, he's still like, as a therapist, he's, boom, you just did your first year. All right, second year, like, all right, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you definitely can't call that not Sorkin-esque for sure. Okay. I'm glad that like I would have been pretty surprised if this became a top favorite for you. I was honestly when you first texted me like, "Hey, does Molly's game on the list?" I was like, "Who body snatched Jelani? There's no way he just sat down and watched all of Molly's game by choice."
Well, it wasn't by choice, but
Right, right. So when you explained yourself, I was like, "Okay, good. Nobody's impersonating you." But um, I'm glad like you at least enjoyed it on some level. Even if
yeah,
it's not like
I
a
enjoyed
top
it
favorite.
enough. Yeah, I'd put it above, definitely above Texas Chain. I was gonna say Chainsaw Man, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Fury Road. I would watch this over Fury Road.
Well, I mean, now that I know how you feel about Fury Road, that's less surprising. If you had told me 2 months ago that that was going to be how you felt after both, I would have been very surprised. But not, I'm not upset at it, but I am surprised. Um,
Mm.
so, what would you give it out of 10? And you can say 7. I'm not going to restrict you like that.
Okay, so Spider Verse is a 10. Do I have any ones on here? What's one movie you done an episode with me and I just absolutely hated it? Texas Chainsaw is up
Texas
there.
Chainsaw and Fury Road.
Fury Road is up there. Or down there. Down
And all the biopics.
there.
I know the
Dunkirk.
biopics
Oh
aren't like
my
1
God,
out of 10s for
Dunkirk.
you, but they're under 5s, I think.
I don't even remember anything from Dunkirk, dude. I want to say between a 6 and 7.
6 and 7?
Above,
Okay.
yeah, above. I want definitely a positive score. Like 5 is in middle of the road. 5 is not bad. 5 is average. I want to say 6 or 7.
Okay. I'm good with that because I wouldn't. This is a 9 for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I'm a little bit unique in that. Like this is not even one of the like better acclaimed Sorkin movies. So, but it's probably like top 30 for me. Maybe not top 25, but
Of all your movies,
yeah. Like I think I know for when it came out, I would have called this my favorite of 2017. Now I would put Get Out above that, but I think it's probably second. And like in terms of enjoyment, like Get Out is definitely better, but I think in terms of like just pure entertainment, I like this, like my experience watching this better because it just checks so many boxes for me.
Right, on a personal, yeah.
Yeah, like I like we've kind of been saying throughout this, like I think there's stuff here that I think works for this movie, but also like if you don't like it, I can't really fault you for that. And I'm saying that as like you or like any given person. Like it's there's stuff about Sorkin, like he has a very distinct style which can either like be distancing for you if you don't like it, or it can make it your favorite, like me, if you like it. So you don't have to like it to be the best, as my brother would say. All right, so going to the
And
boilerplate.
GI Joe.
Oh, GI Joe.
I need to rewatch that, dude. We gotta rewatch that for Patreon. I need to see that as a. It would be so fun as a watch along because I've seen that movie so many times.
I can imagine. I've only seen the trailers, but and not recently, but that does seem like it could be a fun watch along. So you can, you can access our other watch alongs on Patreon. We have our YouTube channel, upcoming episodes, GI Joe as a watch along at some point, but not necessarily the near future, just whenever we can, I guess. And maybe not as our next one, but we are still planning to do Godzilla Minus One soon-ish. We have our YouTube channel with video essays. Our logo's by Kelsey Hendry. I'm on Letterboxd at ev_Wes. Where are you at?
Instagram at Jelani T. Kelly, as you see my name here, just smushed together. YouTube, same thing, Jelani T. Kelly. Actors Access at Jelani T. Kelly.
Nice. All right.
And, yeah.
Yep. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.